Lorraine and I had the opportunity to go out about 3 or 4 weeks ago with Dave Wall and meet Lucy and look at the innovation hub that was newly opened about 2 weeks ago in Tallaght. And Tallaght seems to be very serious about innovation. The innovation hub is not in some back room location, it's actually in the front lobby. And please welcome Lucy Nugent to the stage, the CEO of Tallaght University Hospital.
Thank you, Martin. And what I have to say, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. But as I say, behind every great woman is a man. So I would like to acknowledge Dave Wall, who is our Director of ICT, for helping with the presentation. So, Tallaght University Hospital actually just as recently as last week launched our 5-year strategy, and we took a very simple approach of what we're going to achieve and what are our priority areas. So we have basically 6 areas. We have research and innovation, we have our people, we have access for patients, our infrastructure, integrated care, and digital enablement. So obviously today is about digital enablement, but very simply put, we want to transform how we deliver care through digital enablement. And I'll talk more about some of the other pillars as I go through my presentation, but they're all interrelated, and I think that's coming across quite strongly both from Lucy and from Eilish earlier. Thank you very much, you've set me up very well. So Tallaght University Hospital, we have started to move beyond the confines of the 4 walls of the hospital. We want to be a hospital without walls. We already have our CRY unit open, which is cardiac risk in the young. That was opened by Simon Harris last week. Our day surgery unit is opening next year, and the community radiology, which is in partnership with CH07, is opening in the new year. Equally speaking, we're lucky enough to receive approval for 5 of the Sláinte Care integration projects, all of which will be happening between the hospital and the community. Our mental health services, there is an on-site unit in the hospital campus, but again, they have a lot of community services. They do use our IPINs, and they're very interested in working with us to further enhance that integration. And obviously, we're also part of the Dublin Midlands Hospital Group. We have a lot of shared services with the likes of NACE, a lot of shared consultant appointments. Patients are travelling back and forth between both ourselves, NACE, James's, etc. So from that point of view, we felt it was important that we had to see how are we going to ensure that the patient experience is the same across all of these different entities, and equally speaking for our staff. Again, it took a lot of persuasion, negotiation and reassurance to the staff who moved out. SIMS actually is an outpatient unit, ambulatory unit that they moved into over a year ago. And in the beginning they were very much, as I was saying, conscious they wanted all the supports of the main hospital. And luckily, through the VPN that we have, we've been able to do that and support them and develop things like point of care testing, which are working. And now if you ask them to move back on campus, they would refuse, because they're in a beautiful new building. And patients, similarly speaking now, are able to park under this building and get the lift up. And therefore there's much easier for them. But also as part of developing what we call the Tallaght Health Quarter, because also out there you have the National Ambulance Service, you have the Institute for Population Health from Trinity College, you have 5 GP practices and 1 primary care centre. So again, we're spreading in partnership and collaboration with them. So what about our health information? Well, currently we have a lot of disparate systems, and they're all great individually, but if you're a clinician, you're logging in and out the whole time. You may be relying on the paper records some of the time and the electronic system the rest of the time. The other challenge we had was we had several internal audits that were done about our medical records. They were substandard, there was risk associated with them, and there's also a growing cost for basically storing charts off-site. Simply speaking then, we were faced with the challenge of having several end-of-life systems, mainly our Ordercom's key clinical information system, our Teams discharge summary, and our letter portal. So these are vital systems for the running of the hospital. So rather than taking the short-term view of replacing all these systems individually, we decided we'd go on a journey. So we're now basically developing an electronic patient record, and rather than the kind of rip and replace that a lot of hospitals have gone for, we've gone for a phased approach. We are using, you can see the blue systems are our existing systems, And then we're replacing with these green systems, some of which, for example, the infection control system is part of the HSE framework, so we're leveraging off that. But what this will mean is that there will be a single view for the clinician. It'll be basically through a software Evolve, and we've started it, and we hope to have the first implementation of that, which is the order comms, in September of next year. The benefit of this is that you can control the pace of change, and again, you know, we all work in busy hospitals, busy environments where it's difficult to take on extra things on top of everything else. It's also lower cost, and as I say, we're calling this our project synergy, bringing together all these elements. So, based on this then, how will this improve the patient experience? So we already have several different things in place, but basically our patient portal will be again into our system. They'll be in time to be able to get their appointment letters electronically. As you all know, a letter costs €1, and that on top of the actual stationery involved, it's cost saving. But also, how many people get letters at home anymore? I know my post box is rarely full because everything's done online. And they'll be able to get their upcoming appointments, remind about their bloods, pay their bills, etc. We already have, from a self-service point of view, kiosks have been in the hospital since 2012. Last year we introduced barcoded letters, so again you don't even have to type in anything, you just scan your actual appointment letter. Basically then are moving next year towards having a patient app check-in. We already have a patient app, so it's expanding the I suppose, usage of things that we already have in place. And we're also expanding it to radiology and our therapists. This is important obviously for the likes of our community radiology centre across the road, because again to ensure that consistent patient experience. For our GP and community colleagues, we have a local integrated care committee, and through that we're taking them on the journey with us. If there are any GPs in the room, it's not meant to be insulting, but they're very nervous of not getting their blood results in paper format. They're very nervous of having to do everything electronically, and we appreciate that. So we are driving our e-referral program over the next 18 months. It's currently only at 45%, so again we are working to build that trust between ourselves and our GPs. Again, it's like everything. We're now going to be able to use HealthLink for radiology referrals, and that for the GPs is a benefit. They like that. So again, it's about showing the benefits for them in small incremental steps. And again, we'll be doing e-referral triaging. There will be a GP portal into our electronic patient record, which again they've been asking for because again they have silos of information. It's very hard to understand what the patient has had done, if the discharge summary hasn't arrived, etc., etc. And we're also working then obviously with our public health nurses to have e-referrals. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the public health nurse referral forms. They are in triplicate, they're so outdated and they're very cumbersome. So again, it's about improving their experience. And then in relation to our own staff, I sound a bit like the Martini ad of any time, any place, anywhere. But basically we have piloted basically a single user sign-on, and basically it moves with the staff member. So again, they can access the right information in the right place at the right time, a bit like starter care. But equally speaking, it's challenging sometimes to always look at a PC. So we started looking at different devices and what's the most appropriate device for you as a healthcare worker in our organisation. So in relation to intelligence, I mean, everyone will agree probably that we are data rich and information poor. So we're looking at basically from an operational point of view, we're going for the 3-click rule, that you can go from the static monthly, weekly, daily reports, and that's great. But really what we want to move to is the real-time information. So we have this dashboard now, and the executive management team in the hospital have it as well, because we all do on-call and we all need to know how our emergency department is and what our trolleys are, because we're judged by trolleys rather than the quality of care. So basically I have this now on my desktop, so I can see at any one, this refreshes every single minute, so I can see where we are at any point in time. And it's amazing when you have real-time information, you can make real-time decisions. But what we're moving towards next, though, is predictive use of data. So this is a very straightforward one we have for outpatients, where basically when you introduce an initiative, for example, an NTPF funded clinic, you will see a drop in the forecasted growth in your waiting list. And the next thing to do then is to look at, for example, if we had a repeat of Storm Emma, what's the impact of that and how would we recover from that? But again, there's been a lot of mention about people and about digital literacy, and that's key because obviously, well, absolutely, the likes of Stevie is very useful. They will never replace human beings. Doesn't agree with me. But basically we're looking at the principles of innovation, education, aptitude and culture. And again, linking back to one of our pillars of our strategy is our people strategy. And we're taking people on a journey with us, and we need to make sure that they're comfortable and supported through that journey. And then innovation, again, part of our digital literacy. And again, what is innovation? It's about taking new and imaginative ideas and bring them to reality. But it's also about connecting. So, what would seem like a series of just dots, when you start to use your experience or your vision, you can see the creativity output of it. So, from that point of view, Tallaght University Hospital has a long history of innovation. We were one of the first hospitals to trial the stroke telemedicine. We have our patient app. Last year we changed the way we do our prostatectomies, and apologies to the gentleman in the audience. Rather than having your prostate removed and spending 3 to 5 days in hospital with a urinary catheter, we can now staple your prostate, and it takes 13 minutes under sedation and you're home. So again, it's about how can we do things differently. And again, as healthcare providers, I think it's our moral responsibility to actually look how we can change things and add value to the patient journey. This iPad on a Segway was actually, we were going to bring her and get her to do the presentation instead of me, because she happens to be called Lucy, which apparently one of our surgeons who brought her into the hospital said it was the Latin for sight. It's not. Lucy is the Latin for light. He was taking the mick out. But that's very cheap. That was €5,000. And that iPad can be basically controlled from your mobile phone with a piece of software. So what's been very useful is that because we have a lot of doctors who work in 2 different sites, they can do a consult into the patient. This has been used up in theatre by our surgeons from a teaching perspective, but also to give a second opinion when things might be going a little bit awry. The middle photograph at the bottom is basically our telemetry. So basically we have expanded our Wi-Fi infrastructure in the hospital, so that basically means that the patient that used to be confined to a bed can now move around. You actually get much more accurate readings of their actual condition because they're actually moving around normally. It also means they can have a cup of coffee down in the cafeteria with their family. Pill plan, again, is that you can swallow a pill rather than having a colonoscopy done. I know I would vote for that. So this year, what have we been doing? Well, in the middle of the year there, we partnered with Technology University Dublin, which is on our doorstep, and AWS, who are also on our doorstep in the old Jacob's Biscuit Factory, and had a hackathon with their students. So we gave them 6 clinical problems, and they spent 24 hours trying to figure out how they could provide a technological solution to help us. It was fascinating. They were the young minds, we were the old fogies, but together they came up with some really good ideas, from using an Alexa to remind a patient to take their medicine, including if they didn't, there'd be a weighted scale, and if they didn't take all the medicines out, they'd be reminded. If they didn't take any of the medication, after 3 reminders, their carer would be informed. So again, simple technology, but actually very effective for, again, keeping people well and at home. And we're taking one of those projects actually through with a final year student to actually delivery, hopefully. The staff app was launched there, again, about 2 weeks ago. Firstly for the NCHDs. NCHDs are a very mobile population, and they're very difficult sometimes even to control within the 4 walls of a hospital. So they're delighted with this app. Again, we've just finished trialling using artificial intelligence with thrombectomy software. Ourselves and Cork tried 2 different solutions. So again, it's about collaboration, and that's one of our aims with our innovation hub, which Martin mentioned that we opened there a few weeks ago, We will collaborate with anyone and everyone. We are not monogamous. So if you have an idea, the ceiling in the Innovation Hub, I don't know if you can see it there, is blue sky. So we encourage blue sky thinking. We felt that we had to give dedicated space to our staff to feel where it was safe to come with a wild idea, a safe idea, and we give them the support to work it through. So what's next? Well, again, a simple thing is on robotics, the top left-hand photograph. We moved our phlebotomy service from basically the main hospital suite, which happened to be across from the laboratory, because it had outgrown its space, to a new area. We thought, fantastic, everyone's going to be delighted, this is a beautiful new facility. The one problem, the transportation of the bloods. So of course, there was an ask for extra staff to move these bloods, but they're only going to move them a couple of times, several times during the day. Is that warranted full-time post? What could you work it into? Then there are robots on the market with a little fridge in their back, who basically you can program point A to point B, and they will do it as often as you want. So that's what we're exploring, rather than actually putting a human being in and using our staff differently. Radiation Repair Command Centre, this is becoming very popular now in hospitals across the world. Bradford in the UK just opened theirs. Again, our digital journey will allow us to do that. At the moment we have a very small patient flow department, but we're going to expand it over time. But again, we won't necessarily have to have more people because we'll be able to use the digital supports. Also, we're looking at voice assistants. So again, as I say, the use of the likes of Alexa. We're partnering at the moment with a startup company regarding gait analysis. So at the moment, to do a gait analysis, it's a very expensive piece of equipment. It's about €2 million, and the assessment takes about an hour and a half. And for someone, an older person, particularly with the likes of dementia, that's not possible for them. They have to have electrodes put onto them. It's quite disruptive. So with the use of a mobile phone and a 6-second video, the same accuracy and validity of a gait analysis can be achieved in the testing. So we're actually going to test it in the live environment of the hospital. But again, that's very exciting. And again, we're looking at intelligent automation. So not just around patient care, but also around things like HR and finance. We have people who spend an awful lot of time transferring information, for example, from the recruitment system in HR into our HR system. That can be done automatically. It will, again, frees those people up to do something else. So really, I suppose what our aim is, we have the IHI quadruple aim, which is to ensure that we're delivering quality, cost effectiveness, patient centeredness, and a positive experience. So we're on our journey. We've started, and as I say, with the support of the likes of Deeper and Lucy, I might talk to you, we hope to achieve. But again, it's not a static thing. It's basically now going to become part of our DNA and what we do.